Hello and welcome back to the 1894 podcast. We are here after Bristol City have beaten the Tigers under the lights at Ashton Gate. It was a brilliant performance by the Robins, a game of two halves, questionable decisions by the referee leading to two penalties and a second half comeback for the Reds to see us win 3-2 against an informed side of Hull City. Unfortunately, Annie isn't able to join us today, but I'm glad to say that we have a guest for the first time on the podcast, Laurence, who I met at Norwich City away last season. How are you and how are you feeling after last night's brilliant win?
Good. It's the first game of Manning that I've seen since QPR, but I can't really count the QPR game because that was his first game in charge. My voice is a bit husky because all the cheering and booing. It was like watching a pantomime. We are in Christmas season, so I thought it was very adept. But no, a good victory, I would say.
Yeah, it was. And I would say that QPR game as well. Was a bit too early to say, but now that he's putting two back-to-back home performances, it was good to see, and also with the fans getting building a relationship as well with the punches at the end of the game as well was always nice to see. But starting the lineups, I guess. So both teams were actually unchanged from last match week. So we had O'Leary in goal, the back four of Tanner, Viner, Dickey, and Pring, and then James and Gardner Hickman with Knight, and then Mehmeti off the left, Sykes off the right, and Conway up top. And then Hull City have been in some incredible form. They remained unchanged as well, and names like Connolly, Scott Twine. He was here with Burnley last season. Ozan Tufan, Delap on loan from Man City. They've got a strong attack, so it was never going to be easy. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the lineup and I guess that first start of the game?
I'll be honest. I think, well, as I said, I've only watched very few number of games. I've watched mainly highlights, so I've got to take it from what I saw. To me, Bristol City seem to play with one man up front by themselves. Conway is a good forward. We know. I mean, he scored the penalty. He scored a penalty against Sunderland. He scored many goals last season. I think, if I remember rightly, he scored two against Rotherham on Sky, coming back from an injury. So he's got it in him to score goals. My question, though, as a supporter, is why are we leaving him up front on his own? It sort of seems to be that we're playing, Gardner Hickman and Knight in the midfield, and they seem to be the ones that are generating that spark, which is good. But I think sometimes by pushing them too far forward, in an attempt to try and score, and support a one man up front, which I don't necessarily agree with, it then leaves opposition teams very easy for them to sort of cut through us. And for sort of long periods of that game, Hull, I'll be quite honest, supposedly have all this attacking ability. I wasn't that impressed, if I'm completely honest. They're supposedly fifth in the league, which, well, they're not. Where are they now in the league after last night? They're sixth. They're sixth in the league, and they were as good as us, to be honest. I don't know if that says that the Championship, obviously, as the table shows, is extremely tight, but they're not, miles away from us at all. Yes, they brought in a few players. Yes, Connolly with his goal was very well taken. There wasn't much you could really do. He made half a yard for himself. He took a shot, it went in. But no, it was a very even game. But I just wasn't. Everybody's saying how good Hull are, and I wasn't that impressed. Especially majority of the free kicks they were getting was being benefited by the referee. I don't like bringing up referees and saying how bad they were, but last night I think, well, less do we talk about the penalty, the better. Certain angles seem to show that Pring pushed him, but how many times do you see fouls or pushes or holding in the box and nothing's ever given? And yet last night, thought the referee made it his prerogative to sort of give any sort of foul where Hull fell down. It got to the point, I think, in the second half, I think someone must have had a word because they started doing it in the second half, but he gave less free kicks to them away. I think the sort of ironic one that made most fans quite upset was Connolly, who, if you listen to the post-match with Rossignol, their manager, he states that Connolly had an ankle injury and wanted to come off at half-time. Now, he did go in for a tackle, and he was tackled, or whatever happened, and he hurt his ankle when he's doing this, and I'm saying, okay, fine. But previously, similar thing had happened, and he's holding his ankle, and he's rolling around, and he wants the referee to stop the game, and he's sulking. The referee don't stop the game. Their manager gets irate. The fourth official gets irate back at the manager, and nothing happens. Yeah. The second time, he does the same thing, says he wants to be substituted. Within 30 seconds, he gets off the ground, attempts a slide tackle. Right? So you know that they're just play acting, and the whole game, Broid's lap, ever slightly touched, fell down. The penalty, ever slightly touched, fell down. And it felt very much going back to a previous game before COVID where we played Charlton, and under Lee Bowyer at the time, and we ended up winning 3-2. I think Brownhill scored in the penultimate minutes of the game. This game felt very much like that, in that City were in control of the game. They weren't dominating the game, that's wrong, but they were, okay, they were comfortable. It was a fairly back and forth game, but it didn't deserve to be going into halftime 2-1 down. And we felt 1-1 fair enough. 2-1 was not fair. And of course, Tufan, who gave one of the most dodgy dives I've seen. I think it was at the beginning of last season. Yeah, he has to score again against us. But no, it was good. Second half, we came back.
Yeah, definitely a lot of diving, and the ref just gave anything that he saw when someone fell over, and yeah, Hull took advantage of that quite a few times. But yeah, it was moving on to the start of the game now. I mean, I feel like always the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they're always quite cagey and tight, nothing really going, just settling in. No real clear chances. But yeah, eventually, I felt like after the first 10 minutes, we started creating a bit of build-up play. I thought Gardner-Hickman in the middle was really good. And he did a couple nice touches, Knight as well, just creating some attacks. We over the whole 90 minutes, I felt like we used that left-hand side a lot more, obviously, with Pring and Mehmeti. But yeah, also a big chance for Hull just before we got our penalty. I think it came in the right-hand side. I think it was Delap, and it was a brilliant block by Pring, and then it came back out, and then it was a shot to Max. He should be saving that, but some good defending there, because that was a close chance. I think there was another brilliant tackle by Viner as well. I think Connolly was in at one point. But yeah, Viner, I think it was the West Brom game, or maybe I'm thinking, but that last ditch tackle, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong team, but he's just amazing sometimes.
He's improved a lot, Viner. I will give him some credit. I remember going down watching, I think it was Fulham away, which has been probably 2 seasons ago now.
That 6-2 loss.
The 6-2 loss. And Viner was at fault. I mean, sure, he was up against Mitrovic on the day, but on that day, he was bullied, quite frankly. He was bullied, he was pushed off the ball. He was made to look like the young player that he is. You fast forward it to now, he's matured a hell of a lot. And for a player that I felt we need to get rid of him because he wasn't adapting to the level which he was playing at. I think the performances I've seen him play over the last sort of 12 months has sort of, to be honest, changed my mind on him, and he's improved, which is good.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's amazing to see him now playing, at the first team level, and he's been
the maturity, really. The maturity he has, I think. Because I think some of them, you talk about Gardner, Hickman, and Knight, and sometimes I think they're too slow on the ball. They get the ball and they go, "Oh, where should I pass it?" Instead of being sort of self-right, you know what I mean? Whereas unless the play is sort of already kind of obvious, when they sort of don't know what to do, is a bit slow. Whereas I think Viner is one of those people that he gets the ball, takes 2 touches, the ball's gone somewhere else. And I think you need that sort of thing in the centre of midfield, because I think at certain times, yes, they can play lovely passes. Yes, they can get into lovely spaces. But I think that's probably... Knight's come up from Derby, right? And he's a young player, so we can give him sort of the benefit of the doubt there that he's going to learn, adapt, and get better over time. And obviously, we're playing in a new system that's only 8 games old. And Gardner Hickman, in the same way, he's a young player that if West Brom liked him and West Brom wanted to keep him, they wouldn't give us the first option to buy him. So they must have felt that there was something not quite right with his game. And I would probably, again, go back to the fact that at times he does not give the ball away so quickly. At times last night, that was it.
Yeah, definitely. But I think we're lucky to get that option to buy for him, because he is some player right now, and he's been one of our best performances.
There is room for improvement, but absolutely.
Yeah,
we have currently.
And just I felt like on that, the Viner tackle came from kind of a long ball over the top, because I'm not sure if you saw it, you had the game, but we had this sort of like high, like sudden press where I think it was Knight, Conway, and probably I'm not sure who the third was. Like we'd kind of sit back and then I don't know. I think it was something used done in training.
It was a bit of a confused press, because at times, if you want to press like a Gengen press that we see Klopp and other managers at the top level use, they will commit to pressing the goalkeeper, to pressing the right back, no matter where they are on the field. Whereas at times they'd play a high line and they'd sort of stop on the sort of edge of the penalty area or just after. The defender would be in the box with the ball, having multiple, amount of time to deliver it somewhere else. And it's like, well, okay, if you're going to press, then press the man with the ball. I don't mind you going up as a line and completely, right up to the defender. Why are we stopping here? But there is also, like you say, and like I allude to, by them pressing so far forward, but especially with Gardner Hickman and Knight, as well as Conway, because there's a sort of middle 3, James sort of sits a bit. Then is James by himself, and one ball through the middle, and there's the opposition are up and away at us. Connolly's chance you talk about comes to mind. I think Blackburn, from looking at the highlights, they had a few chances that came through sort of a simple ball straight through the middle. Sunderland had a few opportunities that way. So it seems to be an area that Pearson, as much as I liked him, and it was a disappointment that he did leave, as I told you at the time, it seems like he made us a team that was difficult to beat, difficult to score against, and we found it difficult to thus score. But at the beginning of his reign, when he knew that our defence wasn't that good, when Vyman scored about 20-odd goals, Pearson thought, right, we're going to score more, and we'll concede, but we'll score more than you. And there was a few games in that season where we won 3-2. And it seems sort of, to me, like we've gone back to that. But whereas before we had defenders which were not, I don't know, as good, I suppose, or as confident on the ball, Viner being an example of this at the time. We now have a Viner and other defenders who have improved and who have got better, whilst also trying to keep that attacking mentality. But through a fault, I suppose, of the system, there is always that simple ball right through the middle.
Yeah.
And that's because that's happened not, obviously I've seen it last night, but it's also happened in the highlights of the other games that I've seen.
Yeah, like Norwich as well. The last minute, what was that? 93rd, it just went over. Viner couldn't. That was one poor moment for him. But yeah, so then it comes to the penalty, a handball.
That's
not sure by who now off the top of my head, but yeah, it was a
number
clear handball.
I don't know who 4 was.
I think it's Greaves.
Yeah.
Let me just.
It was a very, very blatant handball.
Yeah, Greaves. Yeah, a clear penalty, and I mean they're coming every week now. I mean we went over 450 days without one,
Yeah.
and now we got two within a week, and we had 2 in February, and we had one against Middlesbrough. So yeah, I mean, we'll take them. And yeah, Conway steps up, puts him away, and yeah, it's a great penalty. I think he's practiced them. He's had 3 now recently, and he does it. He takes it really well. Looks up, and then it's not an amazing finish, but he sends the keeper the wrong way.
Goal's a
so
goal.
it doesn't matter. Yeah,
Goal's
exactly.
a goal. Pogba's, penalty run up, or doesn't matter how you do it. Pogba's short little steps, or I'm trying to think of the Chelsea man what's his name? Oh, he plays for Italy. And his weird little run up.
Pogba, Jorginho,
yeah, and his weird run up, or you can run up and smash it. It doesn't matter how you take a penalty, it's whether you score it or not. And at the moment, Conway's unconventional way of taking a penalty has proved good so far, so can't complain.
Yeah, and then so after the goal, I felt we kind of didn't control the game as we were. We weren't creating a lot of chances, and Hull looked to kind of come back into the game, which was not similar to, I felt, last week against Sunderland. After we scored our first, I felt like we went for the second after, but then we just couldn't break through. But it wasn't too long after. I mean, if you wanted to take us through the Connolly goal, I think how long ago? Yeah, it was less than 10 minutes later.
I think Hull, as I've said at the beginning of the game, last night to a few people that sat next to me, they're the sort of side that will score a goal and then they'll sit back. And I'll get on to that point later on. And I think that was part of their downfall later on in the game. When it went 1-0 down from the penalty, they stepped it up a level. They were quicker with the ball. Whereas before, they were kind of, their build-up was slower than ours, quite frankly. And they had one simple ball through the middle that created those 2 chances that we're talking about. But apart from that, their build-up was very slow. Once we scored the penalty, all of a sudden the urgency come back. The wingers are pushing up. The lap's pushed up. The left winger, I don't know his name, had pushed up. Connolly had pushed up. And it was almost like, we need to get the equaliser quickly. And they did. To be honest, the chance did come sort of out of a very good piece of skill, quite frankly. It wasn't like it was a cross and a header or anything. Connolly found half a yard and he put it in the bottom corner. There wasn't much more to it. You could argue that, yes, the defender could have got closer and all this other things, but it was one of those where we've seen it time and time again. A good player can get half a yard, and that's all they need, and that's all he needed. Was it really a fault of defence? No, not really. Not for me. It wasn't like, the other 2 goals that we scored last night where we went on mazy runs. It was just took half a yard, took the shot, bang, in the corner. But it was a well-taken goal, so I can't really complain. But then after that, they kept sort of pressing, because I felt, again, they wanted to take the lead. They thought, well, we've now got them. We've took our level up 5, and they can't cope, or 10%, and they can't cope with us. This is from a Hull perspective. They scored the equaliser, and they're thinking, right, if we go in half-time 2-1 up, we'll sit back and we'll hold out the lead by basically slowing the game down. And they pushed, and they got a penalty, which, well...
Yeah, I mean, we'll get onto that in a second, but I think Connolly's goal was, it was a good finish. Yeah, he got outside the box, good on the ball, similar to Matiss' goal, which we'll get onto. But I mean, I'd say it is quality, but I felt like we should be maybe a bit tight. I mean, Dickey was in front of him. It felt like, I don't know, he could have gone a bit closer to try and block the angle, but it is a tight angle, and
to me, it was a sort of
good finish.
It wasn't like Connolly had gone on a mazy run, whereas Matiss had ran from the byline and then had come all the way back in to find an angle to shoot. Connolly had a play with the left winger who'd passed in the ball, who then, within a moment, took half a yard and then shot. It's all happened very quickly. So, yes, as I said, you could argue that all these players could have got closer, done better, but it's not one that I'm looking at going, that's a real bad goal to have given away. And I was it was annoying to concede. A lot worse. It's always annoying to concede, but in terms of how my defenders, our defenders did in that moment, I wasn't. It was one of those where, you could have done better, but it's not a disastrous goal to give away. It wasn't a massive defensive blunder. It wasn't Yeah, sometimes those things happen. You've got to accept it.
Yeah, and like you said, they kept pushing, and it originally came from a free kick where
That's right.
Tanner lunges in from behind. I
Yeah.
mean, I think he does get the ball, but he does come from behind, and the player gets taken out. I think the free kick is fair,
Yeah.
but what
Given
comes
current rules,
after that?
no.
Yeah, exactly.
Given
But what
current
comes
rules,
after that? The ball gets played in, and
yeah,
I'm not sure what the ref has seen in terms of contact, but I've seen the replay a few times on
yeah.
Robin's TV, and it's Pring, but there's not even a push there. His hands are by his side, and I think it was it Greaves who
It was Greaves, yeah.
yeah, I think he just felt a bit of contact, and he knew if I fall, maybe something will get given.
I think
And
the amount of times though that we've seen, we've seen worse. Like we'll have Millwall in the next home game, right? You look at the next games we got Watford, we got Birmingham, and we've got Millwall. None of every team that will play in the next, well, up to New Year's Day, even West Ham at a more better level, they'll be holding each other, they'll be pulling each other, but none of them will go down in a box like that. But, and yet the referee will not give a single penalty over the next 3 games for anything to do with that, because otherwise he's given a penalty every 5 seconds. And I think that's part of the problem. Is that, yes, you could argue that there may have been some contact, the angle wasn't the best, or whatever, and clearly he sees something that we don't. But if you're going to give a penalty for that, then you're going to give a penalty for pretty much anything that happens in the penalty area. And I think you have to, if you're going to give a penalty in this day and age, you have to be sort of 100% sure why. Do you know what I mean? So, like earlier in the game where we had our penalty, the bloke's hand is miles away from his body in an unnatural position, is an obvious penalty. The penalty we had against Sunderland, Gardner Hickman, no, was it Gardner Hickman? Yes, he gets fouled by the goalkeeper. Yeah, obvious penalty. Yeah. And on we go for many, many a time. You can't be given a penalty for something that's not clear, especially at the Championship level. If you're talking Premier League or Europe, where you have VAR, and yes, we can argue that VAR slows things down and everything else, there isn't, they get a little bit annoying because it's like, well, the slight touch and everything else, but at least they can argue why they've given certain things. Now, at other times, we've argued, like Wolves at the beginning of the season when he played Man United, should have had a penalty but wasn't given. So, even VAR, the supposed computer robot with humans controlling it, gets it wrong. But in a game where you have no second chances, you have to be 100% sure that you think that a foul has occurred to lead to a penalty. And I honestly don't think that there was in this instance. No. Will be interesting to see what comes out of it. But the fact that, as I said, their manager, Rossini, didn't really want to talk about it. Our manager says the less you want to talk about it, the better. Bristol City fans and videos and commentary and everybody saying, what's going on here? Where's the contact? It explains what everybody thinks about it without saying it. A bit genius.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, just I'm actually a qualified referee now as well. I've done a little course. I've learned about all the rules and stuff. But yeah, there's no clear reason why he should give it. And if he doesn't know, just because a player's gone down, you can't. No. It's just you can't do that. But at the end of the day, we won, so we won't dread that decision too much. But in other games, that could be the decisive moment.
Yes.
Whether we get 1 point or 3 points or nothing. But yeah, then Ozan Tufan steps up. Can't really do much with the penalty. Max he puts it down relatively in the middle. And that was around just at the end of the 43rd minute, and that was half time. And we're wondering, I thought we played well overall in the first half, and we got the penalty. And I don't think we deserve to be going down at the half.
No, as we said, there was think there was only really, as we said, 4 notable chances for Hull in that half. Whereas I think Bristol City in that first half, they had the handball, which was given. I think there was about 2 or 3 more that weren't. Inside the first half, we had shots from Knight that went straight to the goalkeeper. I think that was the first chance in like the first 15 minutes. And we had a few shots that Pring drop goaled it over the goal, over into the park across the road. You had a few of those, but the impetus was there, if that makes sense, or a few shots that were blocked by us. I suppose Hull's chances, if I have to really think about it, were probably more clearer than ours, and probably made them look better, but they didn't have to do much to create them, if that makes sense. Whereas when we were attacking in that first half, and the same in the second, Hull put a lot of men behind the ball, and it makes it hard for them to sort of break them down. But we'll come to, it was their demise, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I do think we created quite a few chances compared to other games. I think, well, looking at the stats, we had more shots and more shots on target, 21 shots, which is pretty good. In a game, possession was basically 50-50. But yeah, second half came round then, and we're hoping. I even put on my story maybe a second half comeback, because I think we deserve more out of this game. But yeah, I felt just at the start of the second half, it wasn't too convincing for that first 15 minutes when we came back out. I felt like the tempo dropped, and we just didn't really know what to do with the ball going forward. And I think we just
Hull had gone defensive.
Yeah,
that's as simple as that. Hull had put, I think it was sort of 55th minute, 60th minute. They had every man within the final third of, if you think of a field as in, thirds, they were in their final third. Every player of Hull was inside their own third. There was, Max could have come up to the halfway line, to be quite frankly. They were playing that back, they were playing that deep, and Hull were just playing on the counter attack. And we're asking Bristol City to break them down. And just, consistent pressure ultimately told in the end, for me.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I feel like in other games, we usually don't have that cutting edge at the end and find those 1 or 2 goals. And sometimes we have games where we're pushing for that last 20, 30 minutes, but then we just can't find an opening. But it was great that we finally did. And I felt like the subs made a massive difference in the end. It came in the a bit later than Manning usually likes to do. It's always around the 60th minute, around the hour mark, but came in the 74th minute, a triple substitution. So Williams, Naki, and Bell on for James, Conway, and Sykes. So like for like, but then we moved. Well, we put Bell on the right hand side. Some would have questioned maybe bringing Mehmeti off, but I thought it was obviously after what happened, we wouldn't. But at the time, I still thought it was a good decision. I thought Sykes, he didn't do anything wrong, but I felt like we were moving the ball down the left-hand side more. I felt Mehmeti had a bit more of a threat. I thought he played also pretty well against Sunderland as well.
I think
he hit the post as well last week. So I think it was good to keep him on.
Yeah, I think with him, I think, and one thing I was very pleased with last night that we haven't done, I think, in years, genuinely years, is that we decided for pretty much the whole of the game that if a side is going to sit back on us, which Hull did, quite frankly, and played on counter-attack for that second half, if a side is going to do that, whereas before, I think under Lee Johnson, we had Dejoux up front and we decided that we'd cross it and Dejoux would have to get a header against, 2 big men that were 6 foot plus. And if he got a header in, fantastic. If he didn't, then we just keep trying the same sort of thing. Last night, we decided, which was brilliant, and like the stats show, we had 20-odd shots on goal. And that's one of the biggest positives I will say is for many, many a year, Bristol City have tried to pass it into the goal net, to be honest with you.
I think last season we scored
goals
1 goal outside the box,
at the
and
box.
that was Wyman's.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, whereas last night we were taking shots from inside the area, we were trying to break them down from crosses, we were trying to break them down from, there was a few times where, where Bell comes on, he cuts it back, there wasn't anybody there, which is frustrating because you go, well, why are you passing the ball to bloody no one? But, you got down the wing, he's crossing it a low ball. There was no high crosses, which, Conway is not a big man, so we didn't actually cross the ball in as such. I mean, Gardner Hickman tried to. I don't know if it was just a failed attempt, but there was quite a few crosses that weren't high balls. They were sort of, mid, if that makes sense. They weren't along the ground. They were sort of halfway. Whether that was because delivery was poor, probably. But as I said, they had a number of shots outside the area. And I think when you have a team like Hull, or you go back to the promotion season where I think we played was it Crawley Town? We got this sounds like a blast in the past to tell my age here, but these are the sort of games where sides would be defensive, and we'd say, right, instead of breaking them down, we'll shoot from the edge of the area. Now, sure, shooting from the edge of the area, like in the first half, would lead to blocks, but second half, it led to deflections in the third goal. It led to the goalkeeper being missighted. Sure, if you had Mehmeti's goal and you took all the defenders out and you just had Mehmeti shoot, the goalkeeper has that half a second to see that ball a bit more clearer. He might be able to get across a bit better, body position's a bit better, everything else. The fact that he's got however many men in front of him, the ball's gone through however many people to get to him, and then he's seen it, everybody's complaining from the whole end of, oh, our goalkeeper's terrible. Well, if you've got 3 or 4 men in front of you and that ball's coming at you and you can't necessarily see where it's coming from, then there's going to be those slight discrepancies in, body position, in sight of the ball, and then, like with the third goal, a deflection, which then makes the goalkeeper look really silly, to be quite honest with you. But there wasn't much the goalkeeper could do.
So moving on to that goal, we played it across the left-hand side again. Pring with a nutmeg pass.
Yes.
Replay to Anis, and then he does what he does, and I think after we get onto it, but the confidence coming from this will be massive. But he cuts in, does his step overs, finds the angle, very similar to Connolly's goal. He's just inside the box, and he shoots. It's not one of the best finishes, but like you said, the keeper doesn't have all the time to react to it, and it's just enough to go past him. And
the same with O'Leary. In the first half, Connolly scored in a very, very similar fashion, but whereas this is as I said, the difference was Connolly picks the ball up and within sort of a couple of seconds has shot the ball. Mehmeti and Knight's goals, they've been passed from Pring on the left, and they've had, a while with the ball before they then had a shot, and so that's when you say, well, okay, maybe defender could have been a bit closer. Do you know what I mean? Because you've had the time to deal with the problem. Whereas, as I'm saying, Connolly's goal was got the ball, quick overstep, moved it half a yard, bang. Whereas Mehmeti has had, well, if you look on the video, he's had a good 15 seconds with the ball before he shot the ball. As a defender, that's when I would start questioning, well, that's why you should have closed him down a bit better. But I'm not a Hull City fan, I'm a Bristol City fan, so good that they didn't defend it very well. They got their just deserves because, their play acting was pantomime at best. So to get the 2 goals was very nice to see.
So Mehmeti, first goal since that Stoke game and his second for the club. So I was just so happy for him. I think he deserves it. He's been out for a while, but he's shown some bright signs, and it's great that he went in there, took a shot, and very happy for them. Went away to celebrate in the corner, but quickly brought away by Dickey because we still weren't winning the game yet. So. Had to get back for the restart, but happy for him, and that would do wonders for his confidence, which showed straight after, really, because he got the ball again and he took another shot from a similar position, which was, I think, saved by the keeper and then came off the post.
It came off the defender.
Oh, the defender, yeah,
Who
and
saved it?
out
As
for a
it
corner.
came off the
Yeah.
defender. Bell was in behind, was just
Mm.
behind the defender. Otherwise, it could have been 3-2 almost immediately.
Yeah, so that was another close chance, and from that chance, the Hull City keeper got injured from that, and then we had a little
Yeah,
break for
I,
a
I,
few
don't-
minutes.
I'll be honest. I don't believe he was injured, but we'll have to see. But it's just, to me, there was a few chances in that short period where, you know, it's cold. It's a Friday night. They're under lights. They're under pressure. They've had an equaliser go against them, and it felt very much in sort of, you know, in with what Hull were doing that on in the second half, especially where they were trying to slow the game down and break it down. Do you know what I mean? And it felt very much of the keeper's made a great save, but he's trying to break the game down. You know, so now
I, I,
see what I
I,
mean?
I do agree, but then he does get subbed off, so I don't. I just feel like they
I
wouldn't.
wow, that's another 30 seconds. They get time to set up in defence. They get a minute to breathe. You know what? A goal. You know the other goalkeepers come on. What for all of 10 minutes?
I feel
Yeah,
like, but
they're,
at
they're,
2-2, I feel like it changed the game a bit because with a new keeper coming in, I feel like he's a bit unready and not warmed up. And I feel
there is
like
that as
I
well.
know
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was a deflection in the third goal, but I feel like if we just take shots at the
yeah.
substitute keeper, then there could
It
be a
could very
chance.
well be,
But
but it just unfortunately it fitted with their narrative.
mm,
You know, if the goalkeeper is injured, then I hope he gets better soon. Because I don't like seeing any player get injured. But as I was saying, the whole night, Connolly was rolling around on his ankles, the laps diving out of the slightest touch. You've had a penalty where I'm trying to build a narrative here for you, where you've had number 4 go down like nothing, and there's been a penalty given. They're in the second half when they've got a corner when they're leading 2-1. The rope runs over, puts the ball down, then he runs off back to the box. Then another bloke comes from the D to run over. Do you see what I mean? And it was frustrating. And then they have because Leroy Senior was on a touchline ban, their coach is appealing for every little slight thing, is shouting at our assistant manager. It builds a narrative that Hull are just kind of taking the mickey, really. And so when the goalkeeper went down, as I said, it felt like they were under pressure. They felt like they were, didn't know what to do, were a bit panicked. And so by the goalkeeper going down, it gave them that bit of breathing space. That
yeah,
was
they definitely tried to break the momentum there because they knew that we were pushing for
yeah,
the third goal. And yeah, when that Ingram came on for Hull, I thought, yeah, now we just need to get shots off really, and didn't take too long after. I think it was just over 5 minutes until we get the ball through the left again, and then Knight comes in just outside the box actually. So that's probably, I mean,
the atmosphere had changed. The atmosphere had
Conway
changed.
scored outside the box in Northern, so I think we've had a couple already this season.
Yeah.
But yeah, Knight comes in from the left, and then shot off. It is deflection.
It is a deflection,
but it finds the back of the net, and if you don't shoot, you don't score. So it's a goal, and it was brilliant to see. And then celebrations, jubilation, and Ashton Gate's atmosphere looked incredible. I mean, you were there. It must have been.
Atmosphere was great, as I said, from about 60th minute when Hull would push back and started playing defensive. The whole crowd sort of, corner, shot. You had the Matiss goal. Everybody's like, come on, that's, we've got back in it. Phil just deserves, because, as I said, the narrative of play acting was forever present. Then you've had the Matiss chance that almost goes in, but goes out for another corner. The crowd are getting into it even more. They've got they go down feigning, well, in my opinion, at the moment, feigning injury. The crowd are booing at the goalkeeper. Then when the goalkeeper gets subbed off, him and the defender walk off with him, put their foot and studs into the corner, where the player's going to take the ball to try and duff up the ground. The fans get irate because of that. The linesman allows him to move the ball. There's all these little idiosyncrasies that's going on. And when that third goal went in, it was yeah, it was a very typical, Ashton Gate evening game under the lights when we've turned it around from a losing position. Fans were absolutely delighted. Because as I said, they felt that they've worked extremely hard. They battled in that game again. Sunderland,
Yeah.
I was told by fans nearby me that they battled in that game. Tonight they battled again in a side. Both sides are on in the table in and around the top six, which again shows that Bristol City are. Some fans were saying to me, "Oh well, we've lost to. Did we lose to Blackburn? We've thrown away a lead at Norwich. You know, we drew at Huddersfield. We'd only beat Middlesbrough. That's tight loss at Southampton, and we're starting to look down the table. And now, in the course of a week, as is the Championship and how tight that it is, they put two battling performances together, who've got 6 points, and they're 4 points off playoffs again. And everybody's thinking, well, looking back at the table. So
it's the
Happy
beauty of the
Christmas.
Championship.
Happy Christmas.
It's it is a great win, and it just shows the resilience and coming from behind. And I think those substitutes made a massive difference. I thought Joe Williams was great in the midfield.
Yeah.
And it was just brilliant. Also great to see Naki Wells back. From his injury, I thought he already showed signs of what he can do and to control the ball and start attacks. So it's good to see that we got more options now.
My problem. The problem in the last sort of 10 minutes, where this is my thing. If you're leading 3-2 in a tight game such as it was, sure, we kept the ball in our own half, which I didn't quite understand. If it was myself, I'd rather have the ball in their half, holding it for corners, that sort of thing, slowing the game down inside their own half, rather than playing it around with our own. And Naki Wells at one point, instead of running with the ball down deep into Hull's half, getting a foul, all this sort of thing. I don't like the falling down Monarchy. I've made that point quite clear in this today. But instead of doing that, he passes it backwards. They then get a chance. They get a corner. They get a shot. They get all this stuff. So again, game management needs to be improved, because that was it wasn't helter skelter. It wasn't terrible, but it was self-inflicted for sure. Could have been prevented.
It was quite nerve-wracking with that back pass, and it always is in the last 5 minutes for Bristol City, because quite a few times in the last few seasons we've conceded a lot of goals. One I can remember, which was just the worst, was the Nottingham Forest at home. I don't know if you remember that game where we conceded a penalty and then 30 seconds later.
I saw it on my telephone whilst I was in year 2. I'm a med student, as I said, before podcast to you, and that's how we met in London. And I looked at my phone and couldn't believe it. Winning all the game to then throw away 2-1 right at the end. We've done some silly things in my time. Sunderland winning 3-0, draw 3-3, Brinstanbul. We've seen it all.
Well, luckily we didn't do that last night, and we held on. I think there was another substitute near the end, Vyman on for Mehmeti, but that was just to slow things down a bit. And then at the end, there was actually a chance. I thought it was a beautiful block from Pring at the end. But then goal kick hits out, and then referee blows the whistle, and it's a brilliant 3 points. Ashton Gate are lively, and it's a hard fought victory and well deserved. And Hull had it coming. I mean, from the get go in the second half, playing defensively, and like you said, all the dives throughout the game. But brilliant win, and like I said at the beginning of the podcast, our first back-to-back win since February, which is quite a long time. So it was great to see.
Absolutely.
In terms of play of the match, I mean, there was one voted on the Twitter. It was Anis Mehmeti. For you, is it?
For me, I would have to say Knight, to be honest with you. He got the winning goal and was, I think he's been proved to be a very good signing for Bristol City. And I think under Manning and under Pearson at the beginning of the season, anything we've sort of done good going forward has come through him. And yet again, he put in another good performance in the middle of the pitch for me. There was as I said, I think it's a lot of players last night could have put their hands up and for player of the game. So, you know, I don't think there was anyone particularly stood out as such that had an amazing game. I just thought it was an all-round good team performance that got the win. But if I had to say someone, Knight for me, because I said winning goal and done what he did in the midfield for us and was the link between defence and attack throughout the game.
Yeah, he cannot stop running, Jason Knight. But no, I do agree in the sense that when it's hard to pick a man match, and I feel like it's a collective performance, is what you want to see. If one player is kind of just carrying the team in that sort of way, then it's great when the whole team puts a shift in, and then you get 3 goals, 3 different players, and a good team performance. But yeah, I think Mehmeti, just for the fact that he got his goal finally, and he just a lot of threat going forward, and it's great to see. I mean, Sam Bell has kind of lost his place now in the last couple of games. He lost a bit of form, but I mean, it's all about competition, so he'll have to work hard to fight for his place. But it's good when we have these options of good players up front.
I think Mehmeti has been favoured by Manning, though, to be quite honest, from the beginning. I think there's been word of how true these mutterings are, as they are in the Twitterverse or whatever app you would rather use, of the fact that Manning wanted Mehmeti to go on loan to Oxford in January if he'd have stayed at Oxford. And now in pretty much every game of those 8-game reign, Mehmeti has played. So he clearly sees something in him that others don't. I think the thing with Bell, I suppose, is he's quick, he's fast, but he doesn't have that level of trickery that Mehmeti has. He doesn't have that level of difference. I think both players are very similar in what they do. I just think Mehmeti's got that sort of step over or whatever, and I think Manning likes that point of difference with Mehmeti over Bell, but there's not much the difference between them. And I think if one of them got injured and Bell had to go in or vice versa, it wouldn't really affect them.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I feel like Mehmeti has a bit more of, I don't know, like control and a little bit more composure on the ball to keep it and with the step overs. But they're both great players. In terms of other players, Max, I thought, I mean, he conceded 2 goals, but can't really do much, and obviously not the penalty, but in other situations, I thought he was decent overall.
I thought some stunning saves against Sunderland.
He did as well. He was very important there.
He made a good save in the first half against Hull last night with a double. What was it? The block by Brain
the block and then the save. He made the saves that he needed to, and he was solid.
I would say a few times.
I think he's improving a lot.
I would say though with him, this was last night from just watching it. Why does he feel the need to keep punching the ball on a corner at the end? He goes up, he captures it, he claims it, he falls, as they do, they sort of fall down, don't they, goalkeepers? And everybody's happy because he's got the ball and the danger's over and the ball's going to be cleared. And there's a few times during the game where instead of doing exactly the same thing, he decides to punch it or tries to punch it. And it looks a bit shaky. I'd rather him claim the ball back and then that alleviates the pressure a bit. So that'd be
happened a couple of times. I felt like he could have caught it and been under a lot less pressure. And also, when you do punch the ball, it always creates some danger. Maybe you could also collide with another player, and maybe a penalty will happen if the referee doesn't necessarily want to see what happens. But that's one thing that Max could work on. Otherwise, Williams, when he came on, was great. Gardner-Hickman, I thought more in the first half. Was more, I could see him more creating a lot of chances. Conway, I feel like, again, you mentioned it at the start that he's up there alone. I feel like in recent weeks, he hasn't really been able to show what he can bring to the team. He obviously has got the penalties and he's dispatched them. But other than that, he hasn't had too many chances. I think there was a game, I forgot which game it was now, but a few match weeks ago, he had a couple chances, but in recent weeks, I felt like he hasn't had much going. but again, you can't really blame him too much. But he put the penalty away, which was good. We mentioned Sykes earlier. Didn't do much wrong. Got subbed off in the second half, and then Wells coming on.
Signing.
So it's good.
He's another good signing, Sykes, this season. So I've been impressed with him.
He's been really good, and up until that, the Blackburn game? I think he scored 7 goals for us before that, and we'd won every single game that he scored. But then that lucky charm was broken. And we mentioned those few games before and how everything can change. I thought those 3 games before were quite disappointing, but it's good to see that we bounce back. But we go into like the Huddersfield game and Norwich game looking for maybe 3-4 points, and then we look at Sunderland and Hull. And going into both of these games, they were sitting at 6th place and they were on good form. Sunderland had beaten Leeds, Hull had thrashed Cardiff at home. And we come out at home, 2 really good performances, 4 goals in 2 games. And how things can change. And I think
the biggest thing,
8th place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing, which sounds really bizarre again, is you take the Norwich result out of it. We've had 3 wins at home. And Norwich was a game we threw away. Unless I've got that wrong. So out of the 8 games that Manning's had, we could have had 4 wins at home.
Yeah.
And
before that was we had Sheffield Wednesday, which we won, Ipswich, which we lost, but we beat Coventry. Yeah. And then before that, we've been pretty decent at home, to be fair.
We have, and a lot of fans would say, "Oh, we're not very good at home. We haven't done very good at home." And then you look at actually this season, you think actually we've done quite well, I would say. Looking at it,
we're staying 8th place in the home form.
Stoke was a bad game, but that was a game we threw away. I'm just looking at games we've had at home. Ipswich was, top table, wasn't it? And arguably we were very injured at that point. We had a lot of players out through injury in that game. Birmingham, we played particularly. I'm going back to the beginning now. Birmingham played particularly poor. West Brom could have won on another day. Stoke we threw away. Coventry we beat. Ipswich, like I said, we were very injured before Pearson left. And then
I feel like looking at the table as well, because I have that here. Yeah, we're 15th in terms of away performances, and we've lost 5, won 3, and drawn 3, and then home we've won 6, drawn 2, lost 4 with 20 points. So, and in 8th place. So we've been decent, and we've had some like.
And I'd argue that a couple of the losses were Stoke and Norwich game, particularly. Stoke and Norwich in particular, especially Stoke. You can look at those and go, well, you turn them round. Where would that put us on that table? Would that put us into the top 6? Would that put us top 6 at home if we'd have won it against Stoke and Norwich, or got a point against Norwich?
Overall, we're 1 point off the top 6 in terms of home form. But
I'm saying if we had the extra 4 points, where would we be?
Yeah, 4th right now.
We'd be 4th with the extra 4 points. So there you go. It says everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm gutted that I've had to miss all these brilliant performances. I've watched, I think, around 5-6 games this season. Yeah. I think I've only seen the Millwall win, which was fantastic. To be fair, that was a great win. But that Stoke game was very gutting.
I mean, what games have I seen this year? I've seen Preston, Millwall. Saw the Leicester game on the television. Rotherham on the television. Went up to Leeds. That's 3. Called QPR, and then the game last night. So I've seen 5 myself. So
nice. And I'll be heading down on Boxing Day to Vicarage Road, which is our next game. But final thoughts on this game. I felt like it was a game. Well, like you said, I don't think we completely dominated, but I think we did deserve the 3 points, and I thought we controlled it well. And at the end, we had the cutting edge this time to find the chances and the goal opportunities. But good performance and back-to-back wins is good. Yeah, it was great. Right, I think that's about it. Any final thoughts or?
Well, thank you for having me on. It's been nice to take part. And
yeah, no, it's great.
We'll get
Again.
again.
Yeah, we'll gladly welcome you back. Hopefully, Annie can come next time, and yeah, maybe towards the end of the season. We're halfway through the season now. That was our 23rd game. So if you look at our points prediction, I mean, we just have to double it. It's not too hard. 64, which is around kind of the 10th place, I reckon, area. It's more challenging, but you never know. We kind of expected around that kind of place finish this year. But yeah, no, thank you for coming on. Hopefully
no worries.
We'll get some more guests on soon, and we'll welcome you back. But yeah, it's been a
Thank
pleasure. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe and follow us on socials and everything. I'll link Laurence's Instagram in the description. Maybe you can see what he does. But yeah, thank you very much, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.